Well, the end of the school year is finally upon us, and in the words of the Grateful Dead, what a long, strange trip it's been. And I think for many teachers, the instinct is just to shake off the year like it never happened and move forward so we can get back to real teaching. But I think that's a mistake. I think that when we have some distance from this year and we're able to look back at what we went through, we'll realize how much we learned, how much stronger we are as a result, and how much more we know about kids and what it takes to engage them. So stick with me and let's talk about the lessons of a year of COVID teaching. Boy, oh boy, howdy, what a year it's been for teachers, for students, for parents, for admin, for the entire world. We have all been through so much that I think it's understandable the instinct to just forget this year ever happened. And yet I think that's a mistake. We pushed ourselves to the limit. We were tested time and time and time again, students and teachers alike, and certainly parents. And we came out the other side survivors. And now the dust is starting to settle, and we are seeing glimpses of what the next school year is going to bring, with some students coming back in person and beginning to socialize again and meeting their teachers and getting away from the blasted Zoom screens. We are getting a little taste of what school used to be like and hopefully will be like again in the future. And yet it's easy to be overwhelmed by the idea of next year and what's going to happen to the kids who have completely checked out this year and lost an entire year of learning. How are we going to handle it? Well, we're going to handle it because we've handled a lot harder stuff this year, and we came out the other side still in one piece. And that's really my first takeaway. If you ever doubted before how strong you are as a teacher, how strong you are as a person, just think about this last year and how much you had to adapt, how many times things changed, how many new tools you had to learn, how many different ways of communication you had to utilize. You went way beyond your own comfort zone, perhaps, and you found out that when you ventured past those gates of comfort, you were okay and that you could handle it. And then you took on more and you could handle that, and you kept going because you had to. The students needed you to. Even if you believe they weren't listening, you owed it to them to be your very best every day, regardless of how many curveballs were thrown at you. So after this year, don't ever doubt how strong you are again, how capable, how smart, and how adaptable you are and willing you are to push yourselves and go beyond your own comfort zone, especially where your students are concerned. Another area that I think we really excelled in this year was the online classroom and the utilization of internet tools, because quite frankly, we had no other choice. We were thrust into this virtual learning environment, and overnight we had to become experts on how to teach online. And many of us had never done that before. Many of us came from a background of only in-person learning, standing in front of a classroom of live students here in person. And all of a sudden, the entire paradigm had shifted, and we had to get with the program or run the risk of losing our students. So we had to meet them on their level. We had to meet them on an internet level, on a YouTube level. We had to use internet tools to keep their attention because, quite frankly, and I've said it in other videos, we had to be the most interesting app on their screen. We had to command their attention and find different tools and strategies to keep them engaged, to keep them bought in, or we would lose them. And I think many of us got with the program and were able to adapt. I think the people who had the most difficult years were the ones who got caught up in Shouldsville. You know, Shouldsville is no place to live. What ought to be wasn't what was. And so those who were able to recognize the thing that was here today, the world that we were living in as we went through this, and adapt accordingly, I know you were the most successful teachers out there. And granted, it could be overwhelming. There is so much marvelous stuff on the internet that you can certainly feel overwhelmed and inundated by everything out there. And you certainly don't have to take everything with you into the future as we move back, hopefully, to an in-person classroom world. But there are certainly some things that I'm going to take with me. Google Classroom, for one, you know that I'm going to be using because I'm a complete slob, totally disorganized, and I don't want papers all over my desk. And so if I can have everything streamlined in one nice, neat program, you can bet dollars to donuts I am going to use it. But pick and choose. See what worked for you. See what's going to work for you as you move back to an in-person classroom. Maybe some things will, maybe some things won't. Let those things go and hold on to the things that are truly valuable to you. I believe we also recognize more than ever before the importance of student engagement and how every child engages in a different way and how we need to constantly be changing things up if we expect them to be paying attention. When we were living in a world where everybody was completely distanced, when everyone was totally separated from one another, it became absolutely imperative that you had their attention. And it was a daily struggle. You know what it was like. And so we had to constantly rethink things and change it up and try different techniques and try different tactics. And what worked on Monday may not work on Tuesday. And what worked on Tuesday may not work on Wednesday. And what works in person is not going to necessarily work online. So we really had to constantly rethink how we were engaging our students and making adjustments as a result. I also think there can be no question that we've learned about the value of face-to-face interaction, in-person teaching, just spending time together live and in person, as opposed to these Zoomified grids that we've been staring into for the last 9 months. So fourth quarter, students have begun returning to school slowly, and it is like night and day from this Zoom classroom they've been living in. There is much more laughter. There is much more life going on. They are so much more awake and interactive and engaged with not just each other on the social scene, but with their teachers as well. It makes such a difference being in person. So I hope as we move forward and hopefully return to an all in-person classroom next year, I hope we don't lose sight of the value of in-person learning and how important it is for us all to be together. Now, we had no choice this year and we did the best we could, but I hope we have a real appreciation for what it's like to be here live and in person with our students. I truly believe that this year has shown us beyond all doubt how absolutely important and significant we are as teachers to our students. We may not feel like it. We may feel like it's a constant battle. We may feel like they're not engaged. We may feel like they're not listening, especially in middle school. But here's the thing. When you think about it, in this year of instability, in this year of chaos, we have been among the only stable things in their lives. Many of them have parents that left them at home as they went off to work as they needed to do, but expected them to make these big, responsible adult type decisions on their own without supervision, namely logging into classes and getting their work done without constant prodding from somebody there in person. And it wasn't easy, but we were there for them every single day, even if they weren't there for us, even if they were checked out, even if they were looking at Minecraft on another open tab or YouTube videos. On some level, they know that we were there for them in a world that was seemingly crumbling down around their ears. They knew that one constant in their life, in a life of uncertainty when the zombie apocalypse could quite possibly be upon us, the teachers were going to be there for them every single day. And I really truly believe that's something that if they didn't get it in the past, they're absolutely going to carry with them into the future. And I know this because even the most willful students I have, even the ones that haven't done a lick of work all year long, now that they're back on campus, they seem to have a need for our approval. They seem to want to please us in a way that they haven't in the past. And it's strange. I'm not really sure what happened between Zoom and in person, but it speaks volumes as to how much they look up to us because they really want us to like them. They want us to be proud of them, even when they've been left incapable of doing their work by the world and the time that we've just come through. They'll catch up. I have faith in them. But my point is that even the challenging students, I think, are recognizing the importance that teachers have played in their lives, even when many other people around them haven't been stepping up the way they ought to have been. And look, all of this may be too soon to recognize. We may still be too close to all of this to really be able to see it clearly. The only reason I'm talking about it is because I sat down and I forced myself to write a list because it's been, on one level, such a frustrating year, such an exhausting year, and a year that I really truly hope we don't repeat. And so I forced myself to try and find the good in this year. And I think that there's a lot of good. There's a lot more than what I've talked about here today. Tell me some of the lessons that you've learned in this year of COVID and comment down below and let me know what you're going to be taking with you into the future, because I think, as they say, we become stronger at the broken parts. You know, I'm reminded of this story that I heard a pastor in church tell years ago, and it must have been years ago because that's how long it's been since I've been in church, but he was talking about rocks in a tumbler and how they're constantly bashing against each other, and what happens as a result? They end up looking beautiful. They come out polished. And so it just kind of goes to show you that the more life knocks us around and the more we can keep standing, keep on our feet and keep moving forward, the more polished we're going to be, the more beautiful we're going to be, the more well-rounded and capable and strong we're going to be as a result. So take this year with you into the future. Remember the lessons. Discard what you can't use and you don't want to think about, but never ever forget that you went through this experience, because I think it's one of the many things in this life that help define you. Hey, if you got value out of this video today, why not check out some of my other ones right here on Classroom Confidential? I have so much on student engagement, game-based learning, improv, tips, tricks, strategies for both in-person and online instruction. I hope they help you as much as they've helped me. Thanks for joining me today. Be well, stay safe, take care of yourselves, and take care of someone else. We'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.